characterization. So on the top there, you're filling in the things that are in the color that are missing on my outline. You can use marker. So characterization is nothing new. It is a very fancy word for the way you describe someone socially, emotionally, and physically. So at the top there, you are going to add in there that underneath there, the definition of characterization means the way you describe someone socially, emotionally, and physically. Socially is like how they interact with people. What is their behavior when they interact with people? Emotionally, how do they handle their feelings and their thoughts? And physically, what they look like. So you, again, characterization, fancy word of the way you describe someone. You don't just characterize characters in a book. You characterize people in general in life. For example, at the beginning of this school year, when you guys came into the class, you may know someone who had me last year. You may have just come in and met me the first day. Whatever that was, you started looking around the room, and you were trying to decide what kind of person I was based off the things that were in the room. Yeah, you can move if you need to. So again, that's socially, emotionally, and physically. You noticed maybe how tall I was, so you're adding in the definition at the top of your notes. So you should have added in there again that characterization, fancy word for the way you describe someone socially, emotionally, and physically. Then there are two ways, but make sure you know that your page is flipped. So if you get too far ahead of me as I'm describing this, make sure you pay attention to this. So there are two different ways that you learn about people. You learn about people either through direct characterization or indirect characterization. These on your sheets, guys, are flipped. So make sure that you have located the direct characterization. So once you've filled out the definition, we're going to add in what is direct characterization. Direct characterization is when the author tells you, keyword there in pink, the author tells you what the personality of the character is. For example, in Wonder, the author flat out says, or flat out has Jack Will say that Julian is a jerk, right? We know that Julian is a jerk because not only did Jack Will say that flat out, Julian is a jerk, but we also know that indirectly because the author shows us things that reveal the personality. Again, reveal, fancy word for just basically the actions they do kind of tell us the person they are. For example, someone's walking down the hallway and they drop their books. Actually, this happened right here in class before. Peyton was borrowing some markers and stuff from Carolyn, fell off her desk, the whole thing exploded. Jonathan came over here and just without a question, the girls started laughing and were picking up. Jonathan sat down there and started picking up markers and everything that fell out of her box. That would be indirect characterization by the fact that Jonathan came over here and helped. That shows us, he didn't have to tell us, that shows us that Jonathan's nice, right? Shows us that he's caring, good friend, good classmate. That would be indirect characterization when they show you something that reveals about your personality. That's more of those inferencing things that you know by the way someone acts, the kind of person they are. So again, indirect is more like an inference based off of something that happens. Again, direct characterization would be like me standing up here saying, I love to go swimming, I love sports, I love this, and me just directly telling you. That's the difference between direct characterization and indirect. So if you unaccidentally flipped them, just make sure you cross out indirect and direct. Just change it on your sheet. If you messed that up, that's okay. Yeah, so right here on your page, just cross this out and write direct and cross that out and write indirect. Yeah. Yep. Because then as we move down this page, you can see that how we learn about people or how we collect our evidence on the kind of people someone is, or we can describe them socially, emotionally, and physically. You can decorate your little character at the bottom of the page. I know my lady with purple hair looks very pretty with the heart that is like pounding out of her chest. It's all good. But if you notice, the way we learn about people, the way we collect evidence, the way we can describe them socially, emotionally, and physically is by their thoughts. What they're thinking. Sometimes they can be private thoughts, or sometimes it's, said out loud. We can also characterize things by knowing what the things they love. So that's our big heart. I know, my shoes are really, really good. We also can characterize people based on the actions they do, what they do and how they behave. What's that fancy word? Have we learned that fancy word that starts with an M that talks about why we do what we do? Magic. Tyler says magic, Miss Glenn. It's just magic. Motivation, right? Motivation is why people do what they do and how they behave. Is behavior always bad? No, behavior is not always bad. Behavior can be good. You can have good behavior, meaning like you're organized, all that kind of stuff. Those can be positive parts of behavior. Behavior's not always negative. We also can learn about people by their speech, the things they say. And those hands represent lovely effects on others. The other way we learn about people is how others feel or behave in reaction to the character. So think about it this way, your effect on others. Sometimes you might treat your mom one way and your dad another way. Maybe you butt heads with your mom a little bit more, and your dad, everything's always easy breezy. Or maybe it's vice versa. Or maybe it's grandma and grandpa, or maybe it's aunt and uncle.
Who's vice versa?
Vice versa, good question. That just means swap, Aiden. It means like instead of like grandma and grandpa, it might be mom and dad. Vice versa means switch. Fancy word for switch. Yes. So again, characterization is the way we describe someone socially, emotionally, and physically.